How you doing, friends? Today we're going to be answering some questions from the Metal Tag 2021 thing that's going around. So I wanted to change up the background a little bit, shoot a video. I kind of find the spot like on the floor in front of my record collection between my speakers is like a really comfortable zone for me in our house. And we're moving boxes of CDs already. So just wanted to shoot something with a different, background for you. So every year, someone comes out with this like vinyl tag 20 like whatever year 20 questions kind of deal, and it's fun. I've done it in the past a little bit. My angle a little bit like that. I've done it in the past, and it's a great way to kind of have the YouTube VC community kind of meet on a level playing field where we can all kind of have an accessible entrance to one another's channels if there's any new people coming up or whatnot. So I kind of like being able to do this, and now that there's a metal one, I had to hop on that. So I will list all of the questions down below for you to do your own video if you want to, or just to read along while I'm answering the questions. So let's get into it. In the background, I hope my levels aren't too weird. I'm used to shooting over there, but right now our speakers are on either side, so I hope you can bear with the volume if it's too overbearing, but it wouldn't be that different than a lot of my other videos, so whatever. And also I've got the questions pulled up on my phone here, so don't want to be too rude, but I can't remember all 20 of these things, but I have been spending a lot of time over the last few hours coming up with pretty good answers. I've tried to split it pretty evenly among vinyl to CD, so that I don't alienate a lot of you vinyl nerds, but a lot of these questions just absolutely couldn't be answered with vinyl edition of something. So apparently these questions were originated from a new YouTuber called The Rock Scout. So I'll leave a link down below so you can check him out if you are so inclined. And maybe a couple of, there's been a lot of other YouTubers doing these videos, so I'll put a couple more down below for you to check out if you want to. I always like to support the newer channels out there coming up, because that's what helped me get a start in the VC back in the day. Okay, so first question is music spoiled by the vocals. I don't know, I feel like I really like a lot of unique vocalists in metal that maybe a lot of people would consider to be poor, and I'm also like really not a King Diamond kind of guy. A lot of the more traditional kind of vocalists just, I can't do it. It just sounds wrong. Like, I get it, like bad singing in a way, like in the early days of metal was kind of a rebellious way to go about it. But I just, if it's too bad, I just can't do it. And so that brings me to Nasty Savage. Killer record. The music is so good. This is their debut, I believe. I have a friend of mine, his favorite album release of all time is the Nasty Savage demo. Maybe there's a couple demos, I don't know, but one of their demos is his favorite musical release of all time. But this is a killer album. The music is so good. It's early Floridian thrash, but Nasty Ronnie, like, showboating all over this fucking thing. I get it, you're the front man, you're the singer, you gotta play it up and be theatrical or whatever, but this guy just, it's like he's just going around rubbing his dick on every freaking thing on the stage. It's just, I can't handle the attitude that this guy is bringing to the show. Back when I was 19 or 20 years old, somebody brought in a bunch of traditional metal LPs, combat stuff, to the record store that I was working at the time, and a lot of the stuff I I was maybe too young to appreciate, but I did wind up hanging on to a lot of things that I knew once I got older I would probably be happy that I kept. But one of those that I actually got rid of instead of kept was Epicus Dumicus Metallicus by Candlemass. But I've got some other gems from that haul. Another one I got rid of was Attackers Battles at Helm's Deep, which, like, it's not a great album, but that's something I wish I wouldn't have gotten rid of. Anyway, so back to the questions. The second one is an album you love that's let down by bad production. Yeah, I guess this one didn't take me too long. I wouldn't necessarily say that I love it in spite of its sound, but I want to love it, but it sounds like shit. This is Unlock the Shrine by Ruins of Beverast. Their debut is amazing, fucking amazing black metal masterpiece. This is a Van reissue. Double LP, not a whole lot to look at really here, black vinyl, but yeah, like Ruins of Beverast is one of my favorite bands, and like I can't do it. I can't listen to this album and not be distracted or have the music ruined by how awful it sounds. I gotta think that he's smart enough, industrious enough, artistic enough to go ahead and redo this album, but it sounds like piss on wax. I can't fucking believe how atrocious that sounds. I've even got it on CD, and both the CD and the vinyl sound like utter shit. Next is a band that suffers from a weak member. I feel like a lot of these questions are, you know, easy nuggets, baits for us to fucking throw down on a band or an artist or whatever, which is what, you know, gets a lot of feathers riled in the community. And I'll be honest, I do a lot of that on my channel, so this shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of my faithful friends and viewers. But, you know, I thought about this for quite a while, and I wasn't quite ready to throw anybody under the bus until I really thought about how much I can't stand Abath. His, like, not only his crappy guitar playing on this album, the clinical and it's not tight whatsoever. I don't know, did they play to a click track on this fucking thing? If you don't know, this is Immortals at the Heart of Winter, one of my absolute favorite bands, and veritably the leaping off point for me and my fandom with these guys. But not only his guitar playing, but his vocals are really shitty on this album. It's like, is this where he found drugs or something? I don't know. But it was like once Demonaz was off of guitar, he could finally step into the limelight and have the full spotlight of being in that band. And I really, once it got to that point, I felt like the artistry of the band just went out the door, and it just became heavy metal attitude, and he wanted to be the fucking rock and roll Lemmy of black metal, or Kiss or what have you, and like that kind of shit just, I have no place in my palate for shit like that. So had to choose At the Heart of Winter. I am very glad that he is no longer in the band. They're better off for it. Obviously, with that album they did a couple of years ago. Hope they do a new one soon. I don't really know. I've heard that like Horg and Demonaz are still kind of fighting over the name or something and not getting along. Like, I don't know. Just put the whole fucking thing to bed and do whatever the fuck you want to do. I want people to be happy rather than drag this fucking corpse out much longer. Because I've been done with this band for 20 fucking years, let's be honest. Next question is that was a spicy one. Show an album for you defines heavy. I almost went with that Burial album that I showed a couple of videos ago. Holy shit. But I decided to pick something else that I haven't talked about in a while. Flesh Crawl's Impurity. Y'all, this is the album if I want to test out a new pair of speakers or something, if I got my hands on a giant PA system and I got to put in any album I wanted to blow the fucking dust off of the walls, Impurity would be it. if you want to get me just fucking bouncing off the walls because the riffs and the drums and the production is so utterly tangible and heavy, Impurity, man. You know, musically we can talk about Descend into the Absurd, for sure. That's a banger as well. A lot of albums in this band's discography are fucking phenomenal, but heavy? You want to talk about weighing a lot? Impurity. That's it. Show an album recommended to you by the music community. So, a YouTuber that I will watch every video of, regardless of what it's about, is The Language Bar. Appreciate you, dude. And his end of the year list last year had a lot of killer picks, and I was reminded to revisit this 3 Pentecost by Witch Hazel. So I think I checked this out for a minute earlier on in the year, and I wasn't really in the mood or wasn't feeling it or whatever. So I wound up deciding to listen to the whole thing not too long after I watched the Language Bar's video, and upon the first listen I was glued to it through and through. I didn't stop. I couldn't peel my attention away from it. It's an utterly perfect album. And then the next day I went into work and I listened to it 6 times in a row. I'm so utterly floored by how perfect of an album this is. Yeah, and this edition of it, I have not seen a LP release on this like thick chipboard kind of deal. This is so well done. I hate it when we all jizz over the crafty semantics of the vinyl editions that we have, but like I am really super impressed with how well this came out. But apart from that, the music that's on the album is utterly phenomenal. I haven't been that impressed with an album in so long. I'm impressed with and I'm a fan of a lot of albums for aesthetic reasons, reasons that have more to do with context than the actual songs and the art and the music craft that is on the albums. But this Pentecost by Witch Hazel just brought me back to why I love music and heavy metal in the first place. So next question we have is, show an album that takes your musical taste in a different direction. So metal is my main direction, and I do listen to a lot of other stuff, but the last few years a lot of my listening has been consumed by a lot of some people would call it Americana, folk country, alt country, insurgent country. It kind of depends on the artist, and I don't want to get too minutia on it, but one of the artists that really just changed my feeling towards country music was none other than Blaze Foley. I feel like a lot of people have recently discovered Culture Wall, and he's great. I absolutely love him. He's a lot of fun. There's moments where Culture Wall can be emotionally approachable, and I think a lot of his songs are about deep and dark kind of things. But Blaze Foley is unequivocally that all the time. His sadness and his his music is pure emotion. I don't think I've ever heard music that was so I don't know, transparent, emotionally transparent, if you will. And so the thing is, like, his studio albums are absolute trash to me. Like, I don't want to hear country that sounds like I'm in a hillbilly bar drinking Miller Lite. To me, country music is just a person and an acoustic guitar, maybe some cello, just very minimal. Because, you know, too much more instrumentation or players kind of get in the way of the personal, intimate connection that I can feel. So I would, if you're interested at all in Blaze Foley's stuff, I would not go for any albums, but I was super happy to see that this was reissued last year. It's called Clay Pigeons, and it's a posthumous collection of a lot of different sessions. There's some live stuff, there's some kind of semi-studio kind of works, but it's all put together super tastefully that it plays like a pretty good album would, and it doesn't feel like a cut and paste mixtape of some of his better stuff. It's a super, like, Blaze Foley's amazing, and I listen to a lot of his stuff that isn't his albums, but this is just a must-have for a Blaze Foley fan such as myself. Before it was reissued, it was, I think it was like an unofficial kind of bootleggy kind of deal, limited run that I think sold out in a couple months and was limited to like 500 copies or something. Let's see. A gem from your collection. I got a lot of gems, I'm not gonna flex, but I think for me where it gets really, really good is like the friends that I've made by way of the music that I love. And this was given to me by my good friend Tanner. This is the Autumnal Winds Venerari Sacra Mysteria full-length CDR. Oh man, like I met Tanner maybe 12 or 15 years ago. There he is. And we became fast friends, and he revealed to me not long after that this was his project, and I was absolutely floored by it. It brought together a lot of the Scandinavian melodic kind of black metal stuff that I was super into at that time. So we bonded over that, and it was great to hear his interpretation of those influences in Autumnal Winds. You will probably recognize Tanner from Obsequiae, which he has since gone on to do, but this is before that with a drum machine and a couple of other players throughout the years. He did a couple of other demos, but this is an absolute rarity, and a couple of years ago I was at his place. Anytime I go up to Minnesota, I stop and by and see him and we hang out. He gave me a copy of this. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's his only copy of it, so I treasure this more than anything in my collection, I think I can safely say. So there you go. Can't put a price tag on shit like that, or friends like that. Abandon your collection that formed closest to where you live. So I live in Iowa. There's not a lot of metal going on here in Iowa, and I'm in maybe the third largest town in Iowa, Iowa City. So there aren't a lot of metal bands from this area whatsoever. So this is kind of metal. I tried to keep it like metal and close. This is some friends of mine too. Big Box with Die Now. This is like fast hardcore punk, thrashy kind of metal kind of stuff, crossover. Big fun riffs, just super, super fun stuff. These songs are so catchy and fun. I believe this is Name Your Price on Bandcamp if you're at all interested. Bang that head that doesn't bang. Got an insert. You should even be able to find copies of this on Wax, on Discogs. Kind of a colored merge there. Big Box. Nice. Yeah, great stuff. These guys used to play shows quite often, and it was always a fun time. A beer-swilling, PBR spilling blast. A metal album you reach for melody-wise. It all pales in comparison to this one by Dawn. Ner Solen Garniper for Evoker. The Sun Set Forever. This came out on Acropolis in '93. This is the gold standard for me. This is the way melodic guitars in black metal. It's arguably kind of somewhere between black and death metal. To me, like I feel like it's kind of beyond that. It transcends any of the ferociousness that you would expect out of a black metal or a death metal band, and kind of I think it's just kind of an extension or a more modern and complex heavy metal that has taken on the complexities of a death metal band, say. But yeah, this is it. I absolutely have every single note of this album glued to the spinal column way in there, and every time it comes on I am just glued to it. I couldn't love this album more. Check this out if you haven't. There's a reissue by Century Media on Wax. They changed the artwork on it a little bit, which kind of sucks, but this came out in like 2014, so Should be able to pick it up if you're a vinyl nerd, but that's the OG Necropolis press. I remember getting into Dawn because of the EP that came out after that album, and I just sent it, like, I went into the college library, I got on the internet, first thing I did was I emailed Necropolis Records and I was like, do you have any more copies of the first Dawn record sitting around that I could buy? And they sent me just the disc and the tray card for $5. I went to the post office, I sent them a money order, and about 6 weeks later I had a copy of it. And it was so worth it. It's just an album that I cherish. Put that album in my coffin, mark my words. Okay, so that was Dawn. An album in your collection you would sell first. So you may have seen the slowly amassing pile of Purge shit that I've been dealing with before I pack all these CDs. Like, I feel bad taking a pile of garbage CDs to my local record store, especially when all these businesses are struggling right now. So I feel bad dumping them on a friend. I don't really know what to do with them, but they're shit. But I did pick one of them out. I actually bought this from blackmetal.com in a sale a couple of years ago because it looked interesting. Based on the cover, you would think this would be pretty good. This is a project called Oberon. Not sure if that's focusing. Come on. So the cover drew me in. The artwork on the back, doing it for me. Like, this looks like something that would be rad. Prophecy Productions put this out. It's the 4th release on Prophecy. So that's like right along there with the first Imperium. Everything about this looked like it would check out, but this is fucking trash. This is the worst fucking thing I've ever heard. It's just like classical garbage piano, horrible Depeche Mode vocals. There's not a heavy or metal or interesting thing on this. This is fucking shite. I fucking hate this with every fiber of my being. Anyways, which subgenre of metal would you delete from existence? That was easy, but I don't really know if it has a name or a term that its fans would call it. But you know, when you're scrolling through like the Severed Records or like Pathos Productions distros or discographies or something, there's just miles and miles and miles of fucking pig squealing, rapey, poopy, grindcore, trash kind of shit, and like all those kids are wasting their fucking time. Like, I can't fucking believe that this exists, and it's absolute trash. And so, yeah, that was an easy one to answer. Next, a band or artist you would most like to see an album or reissue from in 2021. I don't want to get into reissues, we could go all day on that, but I'm looking forward to, and I think this is probably a pretty feasible reality. Although last year I found out that Dawn had just finished recording their new album, but where is it? I've even talked to Hank Forza, and he said, yeah, it's coming. So anyways, these guys reformed unexpectedly for a live show last winter, and that blew my mind, and I was very, very happy for them, just knowing what it took to get to that point. But they are apparently also working on new material. One of my favorites, this is Ved Buensenda, Written in Waters. So yeah, they're back together, apparently working on new material. These are my boys. This album, what a masterpiece. It's that OG purple vinyl. Yeah, so they're working on new material. Who knows what it'll sound like. I wasn't really too crazy about that Dolvoredznav album that came out, which has like Skull on bass and Vikotnik on guitars, as well as some other players. I don't know if that's any barometer that I can use to say how good or bad a Ved Buensenda album would be, but I'm hopeful. But the main thing is, like, those guys have been through so much that I'm happy just to see that they're playing music again and enjoying, you know, being able to do so. I know they just put Or Noir on ice, so Carl Michael's got to be doing something right, so that's rad. Which 80s metal act would you love to see a comeback album from? No question, Crimson fucking Glory. Their vocalist is sadly passed away. It's like, if I could resurrect and see these songs played live, that would be a thing that I would lose my fucking mind to. Yeah, Crimson Glory. Wow. Big fan. Show an alternate variation of an album cover. I don't have a lot of that, but this is one you might all know. This is Immortals, Battles in the North, alternate cover artwork. This is a promo copy that Osmos Productions put out before the release of that album. Apparently the reissues that are coming out of Battles in the North next year are going to have this artwork on it, and a lot of people are losing their mind, saying, what the hell is that? It's not the real cover. Well, you know, you got to fuck around a little bit. And I wonder if there aren't some little legalities going on there that they have to work around. Come on. There you go. Yeah, so totally different artwork. Dig that. This is a weird spot. Show a band that for you defines metal. Like, there's a ton of that kind of stuff. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to, if it was trying to get me to say like an album cover that defines metal. Anyways, I love to hype this album because I feel like not a lot of people know about Hypnosia, Extreme Hatred. Dude! Yes. Total fucking blitzkrieg German thrash by way of Sweden. It's got a little touch of melody in there. Hammerheart Records put this out. I believe it originally came out in like 96, 98. Maybe it's worth looking into. 2000. I'm a bit off there. Man, this is in killer shape. But yeah, Creator Worship, just one of the best. Show your most metallic album cover. Okay, so that I guess answers that. Like, I thought, you know, a bunch of dead people and skulls with a, you know, a warrior with a weapon on it. That just kind of got me thinking, like, what else is kind of along those lines? This, to me, Opus Nocturne by Marduk. That's one of the most metal album covers ever done. Just look at everything going on there. There's just devotees of the almighty Satan there. Yeah, love that shit. This is so for a couple years they were reissuing this with different artwork, and I was not fucking having it. So once they finally reissued it with the correct artwork, as well as these horrendous portraits of each member of the band. But yeah, one of my favorite album covers, and I was just kind of in the mood to pick that one up. Not maybe a year ago or so. An album you disliked at first, but now highly regard. Okay, so Dodheimsgard is one of my favorite bands because of their weirder albums, especially Satanic Art and Beyond from there, 66 International. But I always just kind of like I thought of this as just kind of like, yeah, it's just kind of plain old, regular black and white black metal from Norway. But it wasn't until I went and saw them live a couple of years ago, I thought, you know, I really need to reacquaint myself with Corona Tokonga, Crown Me King. And that's when it really started, I really started to understand that the weird avant-garde personality of Dodheimsgard has been there all along, and I feel like a lot of people act like Corona Tokonga and Monumental Possession were like straightforward great black metal releases, but from then that point, like, they betrayed their sound, and I quite disagree with that. It's obviously a matter of opinion, but I do think this is such a unique album that it's worth making sure that people are aware of that through line, at least through my eyes. And it is a classic Norwegian black metal release. There's great songwriting on it. It's maybe a little long, I think, but it also has a lot of originality to it. A lot of people just say, yeah, it's a great black metal record with Fenris on bass, and his bass playing is great. Of course, but it is remarkably unique and original for its time. It's not Emperor, it's not Dark Throne, it's a totally different thing. And this edition, Peaceville reissued maybe 2 years ago, and there's a nice excerpt from each member of the band, Fenris, Vikotnik, and Aldrun, who is one of my favorite black metal vocalists. So I didn't really understand it until maybe 4 years ago or so, when I kind of started to study the album a little bit heavier and give it my full attention for a couple of days in a row, and it really clicked with me finally. And then I got to see them live, and they played a lot of songs from this live because Nurgle from Behemoth was in the crowd, and he was like, "I'm handsome, play a bunch of songs from the first album." And so that was fun. An album you liked at first but now disregard. So the inverse of that question. Decided to take a pot shot here at Burzum, everybody's favorite fucking jackass, xenophobic piece of shit. I got a comment the other day that said, like, why do you gotta call Burzum a bastard? Well, here's your answer. The dude made amazing music, of course, but I don't think I've ever come across a more manipulative piece of shit in the metal scene ever. I mean, he played in a band with a guitar player and he stabbed him in the back. I mean, he did prison time and then he broke out, stole a car from a family, and went to buy CDs. And now he gets on YouTube and fucking posts xenophobic, racist garbage all over the place. The guy's a fucking nut job. But he used to make amazing music. Yeah, I got into metal by way of a lot of Burzum without knowing anything about really who he was. As a 16-year-old, when you buy an album and you find out, ooh, he killed somebody, like, of course, you don't give a shit. My mom's gonna hate that. That's what you fucking think about. But now that I've come to understand more and more of who Varg is, I really can't listen to Burzum the same way I used to. I don't know. I keep his albums in my collection because maybe someday I can just kind of get over it or forget that kind of stuff. But you can. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying anybody has to fucking think of their albums the way I do, but I'm on YouTube to share my personal experience about albums, and I think that's the way we should all conduct ourselves. And so there's my relationship with Burzum. So two more. A metal band that deserves more recognition. I was kind of just trying to wrap this up, so I grabbed the first thing that came to my mind. This is a band called Hinsidig, another Norwegian black metal band. They're more modern. I think they're about... I think this one, let's see, it's called En Tidlos Husht. This came out on Blue and Eisen. Put out a lot of good stuff. But this is worth tracking down for sure. It sounds kind of somewhere between like Troll, Covenant. Reminds me a lot of like early Dimmu Borgir and Old Man's Child, which is like, why wouldn't you be interested in that after that? This is an EP that they put out, which is also fantastic. I might prefer this EP, I just kind of wish it was longer. It's basically just like 3 songs and 2 outros. But this is also fucking amazing. Not a whole lot to look at there, but yeah, amazing, unheard of Norwegian black metal. And last, your #1 grail going into 2021. Oh, that really doesn't change too much, but I went to try and buy an LP copy of that Asphodelos LP that I was talking about in a couple of videos ago. And I wanted to buy an LP copy for my buddy Tanner because I knew he would love it. And I miss him so much, I wanted to send him an album. And the last time I had looked, there were copies of that thing all over the place. So I would love to have an LP copy of Asphodelos for myself as well as for my buddy Tanner, because I know he would love it. It's totally up his alley. And what's more important than adding another album to my collection, it would be being able to gift a tremendous album to one of my best friends. I would love none other than that. So I'm sure a copy will pop up at some point when I feel like shelling out for it, but it sounds like maybe people scooped up the last copies of it that were in the US. So that's it. That's my video. That's 20 questions. I hope you had fun. I sure did. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.